That's pretty close. Oh man. Speaking of our tier list, we're offered a bunch of pretty disappointing heroes. So Catter can give you extra stats. Gma is like just too slow now. I think it's going to be Wonder Waddle here, but if we do badly, it wouldn't surprise me. This is not a great start for Waddle here. I don't really love Cinderella on Waddle. It's basically unnecessary. I think I'm going to buy the Humpty. And then we're going to see if we can sell the Humpty next turn. But this, in theory, should keep us healthy enough this round. The only thing that this is truly vulnerable to is Eeny, Meeny, Tiny or another egg. But it's unlikely that Pan Shadow has that in this spot. So we want this Poly for sure. I wonder if we just magic research the Poly and just keep the egg. That's unfortunate. Well, we didn't get our Slay. It does give us the opportunity to keep the magic research on it and triple it, which is nice. I'm not particularly interested in the extra Humpty here. Especially not against Sadrak. Though Sadrak has lost a couple of fights. It still seems unlikely that our Humpty is going to live if we keep it around. I think I'm going to roll once. So that I can sell the Humpty Dumpty and buy 2 units. Ideally animals. That's too bad. We did get the Slay. We are taking some damage here. A bit unfortunate there. Gives us a Sleeping Princess, which is not the best unit, not the worst unit. I don't know how much I want this Donkey. Could pick up the Queen of Hearts. We're pretty far away from evils right now, but it's still possible for us to be an evil. I think I'll spec on the Queen of Hearts. Can't quite wake this up. Could just pick up the Shadow Assassin. Just as a ranged. I think I'm okay with that. And it feels a little weird, but it does go a little bit better with the Queen of Hearts, and it sort of sets us up for evils. We would like to pick up some 3 animals, but not donkeys specifically. I wouldn't mind picking up like a stag. Interesting. So we're definitely going to want to take this. And then probably wake it up, which certainly is going to make us a bit weaker this round, but it's going to be worth it. Can I afford to actually wake it up this turn? I don't know if I can, right? Unless I skip. Or sell the Mim. Selling the Mim really doesn't make a lot of sense. Skipping maybe makes more. Like, waking this up is going to be really important this turn. We could get Ring of Revenge. That'll give us a little bit more stats, but it's not maybe enough to make it make sense here. Yeah, I think I have to do this. Oh, that's a nightmare. That's so much worse. Well, this is not great. Well, we're taking some damage this round. We have not played this game very well. I'm going to lock for this, but I am not a big fan of how we've navigated this so far. Yeah, it does feel a bit like a classic Waddle start. Hopefully, it attacks and kills this. Oh, no, it doesn't matter. Right, well, we'll take another 7 here. We do have a big Awoken Princess now, which certainly does help. At least it doesn't hurt. I'm going to buy a bunch of evil things here just to sort of fill out our board. Because basically we're struggling a bit because our board is... what's the word? Fucking dog shit? Yeah, that's probably the word. I guess we just fill it out with the whole thing, huh? Yeah, let's just do it like this. It gives us a couple of pairs that we can try and triple up, and it's not great. It's really not great. I wonder if we should have tried to not get the poly to flip, or if we should have just not taken the poly at all. I'll have to go back over this game and see where we went wrong, because I definitely don't feel like we played this one very well. It's a bit unfortunate. We'll see. I mean, we aren't dead, right? We're only at 22. We can still definitely come back from this, but it doesn't feel like we've navigated this very well. I maybe should have just waited on the Mix-a-Wizzle and taken one of the treasures, but I don't really know if it made us that much stronger or weaker either way. Because the unit on its own was pretty weak. Getting that Slay there actually does matter quite a bit, in fact. I think it depends on where this Minotaur ends up. Like, if this Minotaur ends up smashing directly into this Queen of Hearts, then we're going to be in a bad spot. But if we can attack this first... No, we can't. Well, we could have tied that. A bit unfortunate combat RNG there. There's another Queen of Hearts, so that's interesting. Let's take the Shadow Assassin. I don't really think that I can Crystal Orb, not at 16 health. I think I'm just going to Power Orb to get a little bit of stats and grab this other Queen. And then roll. This Medusa is probably worth grabbing. If I can. I don't think I actually can this round, which is unfortunate. Could just cast Earthquake. Just Earthquake Lock. I think that's probably fine. I do think that we still have to leave it like this. It's not really ideal, but we want this Medusa for sure, so... Given what our board is. So I guess we'll Earthquake, and then we can at least upgrade one of our units. I'd like to get this to be at least 6 attacks so that I can cut the Mim, and then replace that with something better. Yeah, not a great board. This game could be going much better. Didn't get a Slay. We may actually be fine here. If this hits the Nutcracker directly... looks like we're probably fine, though they are going to get a couple of hits off of this. Not taking damage here is pretty important, because we've sort of been bleeding, and it's been a bit of a problem. Because we need to stop taking damage, basically. Oh, that's really big. Fancy Pants is pretty nice with the Sporko. So is the Quiver. Quiver can let us move the Shadow Assassin back now. And then we can pick up the Sporko next turn. And then it'll also be +3/+3. I don't hate that. I mean, Fancy Pants is probably a better treasure overall right now. But if we can't buy the Sporko this turn, then the Fancy Pants is pointless. And I can sell 2 that I would feel comfortable selling. 3, I guess, but then that makes the Queen of Hearts really shit anyway. So I may as well just take the Quiver. We can move these around a bit, and then I guess we incinerate another gold and lock, because I really want this Sporko, so... Position-wise on the Shadow Assassin, I don't love, but we kind of have to do this to make sure that our that our Medusa is able to slay here. So I think it's fine. Unfortunately, we didn't attack first. We did get a slay on the cut purse. Means we get a little bit of extra gold. And the donkey doesn't get any extra summons, which is important. Can we kill... Okay, that's good. Alright, we should be fine here. Okay. Still a bit worried about this 40 health Morgan. They took some damage here. Let's grab the Sporko. It's a pretty big pickup here. We don't quite have enough animals to justify the TLK. I don't really want another Queen of Hearts. I do want this healing potion quite a bit. I think I can crack in here. To see if we can find a little bit better... we could Chupa for a turn. Certainly a big stat upgrade over the cut purse since it's just a 2/2. I'm trying to decide if this upgraded Sporko actually makes sense. Yeah. It's probably pretty good here. Oh, that's a fucking disaster. We're taking some damage here, it looks like. That was a decent shot. That was a decent hit. That was less decent. Honestly, would have rather it shot that way so that I took less damage. Do get a temporary reprieve against Drac here, so we'll get our treasure to start. We don't really know what Drac's got. We could Gloves of Thieving just to get some more economy out of him. Could Gloves of Thieving Kidnap. I actually don't hate that against somebody who's been dead for a couple of rounds. And honestly, we may be in a market for this other Medusa. Like over these two. And then I think I just don't give a shit about this Chupacabra. Yeah, let's do this. Because my fail case is if I find a pumpkin, I can just put a Medusa down here, shift these over, and then just put the Shadow Assassin in the front. And then have the pumpkin in the back with the Queen of Hearts, and we'll just cut one of these. Assuming that we're not dead here, which is, you know, kind of a big ask. A pretty big ask, actually. So we got 2 dragons that are both 19/4s, so they have extra stats as well. Which I don't hate. I mean, we could mermaid and pivot a little bit. It may be a little late, but I don't really see another option unless we find a pumpkin, like, immediately. And since we didn't, I don't know what alternative we've got here. So does this just make us weaker? Probably by quite a bit, huh? I mean, it's not like we've had this Queen of Hearts on our board the last 3 turns anyway. Yeah, let's do this, I guess. It's a bit of a disaster. Did we just die here? Looks like. 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, we're just dead. Okay. I guess we get 5th. Great. I don't know. Like, I don't necessarily know if this pivot was worth it. But I don't really know if our other board was strong enough either way. Like, I don't know if we're beating this with our last turn board. Like, maybe we could have rolled another turn to look for pumpkins, but, I mean, they're huge here. They're gigantic. We're on 5.1, they were at 5.2. And I just don't know. Like, here's one of the things that I was talking about a bit in the Scrims Discord somewhat. And this is what I've been seeing in basically a majority of the games that I've been playing, is it seems like maybe 3 to 4 players will be mostly stable, and then everybody else will just fucking die. It feels like they have no teeth in the lobby at all. They just take a ton of damage from either Evil, which I assume that they're on pumpkins, given that they're playing Pan's Shadow, or like a super high roll Royals with Mimic this on, you know, 4.2 or whatever the hell fucking Morgan was playing, because we haven't seen Morgan forever. And you're just taking a ton of damage all game, and it feels like you just have no future. I mean, look at our treasures. Or sorry, look at Sadrak's treasures. They had none, like, and they died. Look at Pan's Shadow. They had 1 and were barely alive. Curse King died with 1. And this is kind of the key, is that these people are dying because they found no treasures, versus these people who are still alive when we died, of course, that all had 3. Now, we had 3, but, like, did we really? I don't know. This might have been too cute. Like, switching into this probably was too cute. I mean, we can look at the... Let me done this real quick. We can look at the game itself and just see if there were some spots where I probably could have made some better choices. So the alternative to taking the egg here is we just take Cindy. Or the Tiny, right? These are sort of our choices. So we knew that we were up against Pan's Shadow, so it was very likely that they were going to have something evil. Most of the evil is going to be either 1/1s or high attack, low health, but nothing more than 7. So this basically guaranteed that we weren't taking damage on this combat. I think the egg was probably okay there. Now, this shop was pretty garbage. It felt like to me that this was probably fine, especially on Waddle, since we still had the egg. The only alternative is that we take, what, a happy little tree. I think this turn was still fine. Unfortunate combat RNG that they attacked first, or that we attacked into this, or whatever the outcome was. We didn't slay, not the end of the world. This one I liked a bit less. I think it's possible that I should have just shrunk and then bought like the egg and the dragon, maybe, and then just put the like put them in the front here. I don't know. This wasn't the worst turn that I've ever played. Like, we ended up with a Mim and a Chicken, which are not terrible for Waddle. We ended up slaying into a pretty awkward unit, realistically. And I still don't even hate this evil transition, but I do think that it ended up costing us a lot more health than maybe it was worth. It is possible that I should have just grabbed the donkey and tried to lean into Waddle a bit more just to get some treasures before moving in on the Evil Queen with no evils. So basically, our board was just bad, was the problem. We just didn't have enough units. I didn't hate this combo with this one, especially given what we were offered. The only alternative that I could see there really is like Donkey Lucky, maybe, which would have been fine. Obviously, it ended up not working out super well here. They already had the Book of Heroes, which is pretty rough with the upgraded there, but it is what it is. This was probably bait. I baited myself into the Mix-a-Wizzle here, which made us really weak. We probably should have just taken Treasure Map. If we were going to do this, we probably should have taken Treasure Map, or we should have just ignored it and rolled. Getting this upgrade really doesn't make us that much stronger, especially since we had to cast a thing on it. If it was already awoke, sure, it would have been fine. But since it wasn't woke up yet, I think just rolling into this shop and then playing all of this crap, I think would have been stronger. Because it makes us immediately bigger. Like, basically, we were extremely weak here. We ended up with a 14-3, which just is pretty much unplayable in that spot. Because this was the Mix-a-Wizzle, right? And it's so bad here. Obviously, they already had a tier 4, so, like, their poly turned into something much nicer. Yeah. Yeah, maybe I should have done the math on the Queen. Maybe the Queen, or maybe the Sleeping Princess was just as good. I didn't hate this. Where we were at in this one, I didn't hate this purchase. I don't think we were healthy enough for this, and buying 3 things just to fill in our board is going to be better than almost any alternative here. It ended up that we coin flipped to lose combat here, right? Because, or to not tie, because if we had attacked this first instead of this, then we had a chance to tie. We also had a chance of just killing the Minotaur at any point, like when we were in the back row, but we didn't, so that was an unfortunate spot, because then it was an upgraded that took us a lot more damage. Here, I mean, we're pretty pot committed into this. It is entirely plausible here that I should have just sold for the Medusa instead of locking it, because I would have needed to sell 2 things. It makes us a lot weaker as far as our evils, but like the Medusa, I think, is just strictly stronger than some of these shitters, even though we did end up winning, which did feel pretty bad. In this spot, we ended up buying the Medusa, not the Stag. It just registered it wrong because it positioned it differently. I liked this triple. That was huge. That was a really big upgrade. I think this probably should have been Fancy Pants instead of the +3/+3, especially if we were potentially going Pumpkins, because the +3/+3 permanent would have been much more useful. So they had the double Sporko, so this combat was unfortunate again. We took a little bit of damage for no reason there. In this spot, I do think that the Chupa was definitely a mistake. It was an upgrade on our unit, but because the cat didn't slay, it ended up being like just worse than maybe picking up like the Tweedledee. I think the Tweedledee, because we had the Sporko, even with the Queen of Hearts, was probably better in retrospect. Like, this decision tree that we had, we could have just taken the Tweedledee in this spot, and we lose 4/4 here, but we literally gain, like, a double unit worth of stats. Because it goes from being... Tweedledee's, what, a 6/1? So it would have been 7/2... So it would have been a 12/2 that turns into... what, like a 7/14 or whatever? That's much better than a 13/6 that just dies like an idiot. And one of our limitations on this board specifically is not getting stats on the Queen of Hearts, it's being able to protect our back row range units. So I think the Tweedledee may have been better in that spot. Obviously, we probably weren't winning against this even with the Tweedledee, because they ended up casting... They ended up casting a spell on us, in addition to just having, like, royal scaling. They were scaling up 2 units. They just had, like, a huge board compared to what we were at. I mean, if you look at all the units, the only way that we're actually winning this combat is if we attack with Medusa and hit, like, the... one of their things that counts for multiple units. So we took a little bit more damage there, which I believe put us down to 10. Yeah. This was probably a mistake. I was playing for the tier 4 treasure a little bit, maybe a little bit harder than I needed to. There are a lot of really good tier 4 treasures right now. Horn is quite strong, and I don't mind the second Medusa. What I do mind about this is that it cost us a lot of gold and really didn't make our board that much stronger. So I think this was maybe the error, especially since this was going into our tier 5, I believe. So I think this maybe is where I made the biggest mistake, outside of the Tweedle. I didn't hate that we got to steal Double Dragon, but it ended up making us have this really weird decision tree, which was this spot, where I had to decide between, do we try to play for a different comp because we hadn't really gotten the pumpkin, we don't really have the treasures for pumpkin, we don't really have the pumpkin build, we were just missing a lot of pieces for it, and potentially this could like scale up the Shadow Assassin a little bit, it'll pull us into a different direction for a comp. Like this, if it gets the Slay, like it ends up being a little bit closer to being able to just self-scale. Like we had a lot going for it. However, I don't know if this was the right time to move, though I don't know if this was really that much bigger than what we'd already had. I think it's possible that the Sporko we should have just had one Medusa here. Sporko could have been slot 1. We could have had the Shadow Assassin in the back as well. And then we could have just had the 18-18 in the front. And then it would have been, what, a 20-18... sorry, a 28-18, which I think is probably bigger than what this would have been able to be anyway. Even with a full evil board, this is what, 4, 8, 12, 16. So, assuming that these are both ranged, this is about the same size as this princess. A little bit weaker, but then you need the full evil board. We could have sort of been hybrid with this. We could have still used these, and then I think it would have been fine. I think that might have been better, and then that leaves us open a little bit more to still being the Slay if we find the other pieces for it, or we can just dump back into pumpkins pretty comfortably. But I think it's possible that on this previous turn where we dumped all this gold into Sporko that maybe we shouldn't have bothered. Because we really didn't have room for a second Medusa there. We don't have boots. We're not guaranteeing that one of them attacks. And having just 2 really weak units is not good enough. And since we don't have, like, Ring of Rage or something to make sure that they can just be in the back row, like, if we could have a position 1, position 5, that would be different, but we just didn't really have a board for that. And then, obviously, the book was able to really get these scaled out of control. I mean, that's why they're so large here. They kissed into a random 6. It looks like it's this tree here, and we just died to them having a lot of extra stats from the Fancy Pants plus the book. And then our Medusa getting attacked into was a nightmare, because then we couldn't really deal with either of these. I mean, killing the Cupid and this was nice off of the dragons, but on its own, I don't think was enough. If the Robin, this was a Robin, I believe, that they, it's just showing wrong. But if the Robin didn't hit this, and we were able to, like, say, attack this, kill it, and then keep one of our dragons around, it would have been a little different. But I don't think that we had enough stats with the other configuration either, now that I'm looking at this board. Because we're going to get killed by the 17 attack Cupid if we're not killing it with the dragon. Like, it's just going to eat us alive. So I don't think it really mattered too terribly much in this instance. But it's still interesting to review this, to think about it, because, we just don't really know a lot of times. I believe that this player won the lobby, if I'm reading this correctly. I believe this was Minox. So it looks like they probably just kept it going and leveled up there. Yeah, there was a spot, I think, where, like, we had a Chupacabra that probably was not a great pickup, and if it had slayed, it would have put me in maybe a little better position, but not so much better that it was worth the 4 gold investment on it. I think maybe just either rolling for a spell or just trying to find something a little bit stronger may have been better in that instance. I don't know, it's hard to say. I'm going to read through the chat a little bit, but I suspect that it's pretty close to that anyway. Yeah, it's possible that I needed map from there, but just like, I don't know, with 3 units, map just didn't feel like it was going to be enough, since it didn't actually add anything to our board, and we were already weak. Like, we made ourselves weak in general there, and I think getting 5th for how we played that game was probably a gift, even if it's not ideal. Like, we still have, we need, what, 40 points, and we have 12? So we're still on track for getting 3rd on average. Like, the 3rd that we got, like, doesn't put us that far out of range, I believe. Because we need, what, 28 more points to get just squeaking in. So we basically need... No, did I do the math wrong on that? 1, 2, 3. Oh, yeah, I did do the math wrong on that. We have 11 points. Right? Because it's 10, 8, 7, 6, 4, 3, 2. Okay, so yeah, that makes more sense. So we actually need better than 3rd. So we need to get a 2nd or better to sort of make up for that 5th. That makes a lot more sense. I didn't think that... Yeah, that's too bad. It does look like there's about 5 pods left. It is kind of interesting how quickly some of the pods are dumping off, and then how long some of them are seeming to go. Because it does feel like a few of them are ending very quickly, and then it takes a while for a few others. I didn't really think that we played that one super well. I don't know. It just... Like, outside of the Wonder Waddle, I'm not really sure. Yeah, I'm not really sure. I mean, like, as far as the animals that we could have found on 3, I mean, there's not that much, right? It's pig, stag, and donkey, and we really didn't see any stags in any position for us to be able to pick them up. Like, the sleeping princesses sort of were the spot that kind of got us, I think, there. Yeah. Especially since it wasn't woken up, it was just really awkward. I sort of got myself with that a little bit. The poly baited me a bit into it, I think. Maybe I just am supposed to take the donkey and not try to force the evils there. Like, that might have been a little cleaner. Because then I can take the donkey and just roll a little bit to see if I can wake up the princess. I don't necessarily think that the donkey is super strong, but it does give us a triple potential for another 3. And it's not like the queen on its own is really that strong until you have some evils. Like, it's a 1-3, right? On our board, if they attack and kill all of our evils first, it was, what, a 5-6? So it's really not that much better than any random... like any random thing at that point, so that might have been a bit risky. Like, maybe I moved in on something that I kind of shouldn't have. Did we get any triples from Waddle that game? I don't think we did. Like, I don't remember any triples on Waddle at all that game, so... it's a bit unfortunate. Which is one of the reasons that I wasn't a big fan of taking Waddle to begin with. So, I don't know if we got any hero power at all. We just played without a hero power that game. So 5th for no hero power is pretty great. I really honestly, I seriously, honestly do not believe that Wonder Waddle is a playable hero anymore. I'm going to probably downgrade it even. I might go back to the tier list and bring it down. Like, I have not had success with it in the previous patches. Like, if we go look at our history of just, like, this month, Wonder Waddle is one of our most losing heroes. Its average is below 4, which basically any hero who has below a 4 average for me, I'm just, like, not terribly interested in. But the reason that I think Waddle is maybe kind of sketch is if we look at, like, last month as well, we were still barely better. Like, I don't think that Wonder Waddle is necessarily good at all. I really don't. Like, lifetime, my Waddle stats are fine, but as the patches change, there's just not that much on Waddle that you can be doing that I think is worth having a hero power that just sometimes isn't good enough. And maybe I'm just playing Wonder Waddle wrong, and that's certainly possible. I mean, I won't claim to be a Wonder Waddle genius, but I really don't think that Wonder Waddle is where I want to be most of the time now. So it does look like there's no pods remaining, so they're just finishing up, and then they'll get the next round started. All pods are finished. Next round starting shortly. Yeah, hopefully we get a little bit better hero options this time. Again, I'm not really asking for the world, but I've not had good tournament success with Wonder Waddle. I know that obviously sometimes you just, like, find 2 mice and you get a really good early 4, and that can do well for you. But if I want to play, like, a triple bad animals hero, I think I'd rather play Piper. I think it's easier to find them with Piper because you're always guaranteed an animal. You don't find those shops where it ends up being just, like, no animals. I mean, like, we look at this replay again, and what animals am I taking here? I took the poly, that was one that was offered to me, and then there's just nothing. Like, am I supposed to just take this 1/1 prince? Maybe. Like, am I supposed to be buying these unicorns and donkeys and just, like, trying to dummy into treasures? Like, is that the only way to play Waddle? Maybe. Maybe it is. And, you know, I don't know. I don't know enough. Like, I haven't played enough games on this patch to know if that would be good enough to actually win in any competitive tournament. Yeah, other than Waddle, it was Mrs. Claus. What was it? They were bad, though. Oh, it was Mrs. Claus, Catter. I know it was another one that I think is really bad. Was it Mordred? No, I would have probably taken Mordred. Shit, I don't even know. It was that bad that I've forgotten it. Oh, it was Gma. Okay, so this is here. Let's join the tournament.